Welcome to the Social University Podcast. We are so glad you're joining us today because we want to help business owners, entrepreneurs, and people just like you who want to build their business online. Listen, if we can do it, you can do it. So let's go.
Good morning. I'm Karen Terradas with Social U. It is time for What's Up Wednesday. We come to you live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. to discuss social media and marketing tips, tricks, and trends. We try to focus on social media, obviously, because that's what we do. That's our specialty. But you can't have one without the other. So we do bring marketing into it sometimes. This month we've had, last week we talked about checking in on your goals. How's it going so far this year? Today, we're going to talk about how to stand out in a saturated market. And next week, we're going to talk about how to get inspiration or where to find inspiration when you are out of ideas. Everybody has burnout. Everybody. My team has it. Everybody has it. And I'm going to give you some suggestions for areas where you can find content that you might not have considered before. But let's go ahead and get started with how to stand out in a saturated market. There is a lot of information on this topic, and I have gone through I think all of it, and kind of narrowed it down to the following list. But before we even get started, one of my favorite books on this topic is Blue Ocean Strategy. I read it years ago. I've reread it since then. It actually gives some outstanding case studies about different companies and organizations who entered a saturated market and not only succeeded, they dominated, so that the other companies already in that market had to stop what they were doing and kind of take a look at them. So if that's something you're interested in and you like that kind of information, I highly recommend it. I love that book, really and truly. It's excellent. So is Outliers, just FYI before we get started. Okay, let's talk about how to stand out in a saturated market. Number one, you absolutely have to be consistent in your branding. And this includes your personal brand. People look at LinkedIn like it's just this thing that exists for them to get hired. And yes, it is very effective for getting hired, but it is also super effective for you to network, get leads, and grow your personal brand so that you bring digital value to the company where you are right now. It's a lot easier to negotiate with an organization if you already have those contacts established and have relationships with those folks online. So much easier. And in your branding, you're never going to find a graphic, a video, anything of ours that doesn't have our colors, our brand, our personality, because that's who we are and we want to stay consistent in that branding. Number two, you want to get back to the basics. Who is your ideal client? What is your target client? Now, I was explaining this either last week. I was explaining this previously. If you're going to hit a target, like if you're playing darts or you're shooting an arrow, you have to have a target to aim at. You may not hit the middle, you may get it on the board, but in order to get it on the board, you have to aim at the middle. Your ideal client, of course, is your perfect version of your perfect customer. Are you going to get some that's not in that bullseye? Absolutely, but that's not what you're targeting. So you need to get back to basics and figure out who is your very best client and how do I get more of that? That's what you want to focus on. Number three, and this kind of leans into number two, create a niche for yourself. There are, and I'll use our industry as an example, there are social media managers who specialize in Instagram, who specialize in Pinterest, who specialize in Facebook. It's totally okay to specialize in a specific platform. That's not how we do it. That's okay. That's not my niche. So if that's what works for you, that's what you need to do. If you are a realtor, your specialty might be retirement homes, like vacation homes at the lake. And that's your thing. Now, would you turn down selling a house in Vestavia to a first-time home buyer? Probably not, but you have to have a target to aim at. Okay, number four, focus on what you're good at. If you're really good at Pinterest and you're trying to promote yourself on Instagram, that's a square peg, round hole mentality. You have to go with what works for you and you have to go with what you are good at. Now, do I love Facebook? Absolutely, 100% I do not. Being on Facebook, I feel like I'm forcing that square peg in the round hole. TikTok content, I can create that all day because that is my forte. That is what I enjoy. That is what I am educated in. That is where I spend my time. So you have to do what works for you and you have to do what you're good at. Okay, number five, promote what makes you unique. How what do you offer that's different than your competition? And I will use our web development manager, master. There's not a title to me that's suitable for him because he is so good at his job. Webmaster does not get it done. But our web development person that we work with not only creates websites, he also provides hosting. That's pretty common. There are other people who do that. One thing that makes him truly unique, that makes him stand out in a sea of competition, his hosting includes edits. Now, there is an hour limit. He can't completely redo your entire website and have it included on your hosting. But if you need an address changed, or if you need a phone number updated, or if you want to update a headshot or add a bio, or even add a new page or a blog, that is included in your hosting pricing. You will not get a bill for 15 minutes when he spent 13 seconds editing a phone number. And shockingly, these edits happen normally in a 24-hour period. That is so incredibly unique in the industry. That really makes him stand out. WP Site Mason is the company we work with him. We've been with him for years. Highly recommend him for hosting. And it's not crazy expensive, very reasonable, and you get a ton for it. Again, that makes him stand out. That's a great selling point. Yeah, anybody can host. There are other people who back up on multiple servers. There are other people who have great customer service, but not like this. Okay, number 6, offer value-added services, like packages. Like the place where you get your nails done, you get a stamp every time you go, and then the 10th time is free, or you get a discount. Or if you buy the car, you get the mats for free. Packaging that makes it beneficial for your clients to come back to you. So if we're taking over your social media, a lot of times we have to spend a lot of time optimizing the platforms because they haven't been loved on in so long. If you sign a year contract with us, we waive those fees. We want to reward customers who spend a long time with us. Number 7, price effectively. You don't want to price yourself. Oh, thank you, Becky. This is the link for our web guy in case you are interested. I got to quit calling him the web guy. Web development, I should say master, but manager. He's outstanding. Okie doke. Let's see, where was I? Lost my train of thought. Pricing effectively. There it is. You want to make sure that you're pricing yourself strategically. Now, this is a very interesting topic to me because if you price yourself too low, people think it's not worth the money. But if you price it too high, you're too expensive. So it's the whole Goldilocks syndrome. You have to get it just right for it to work for you. And your pricing doesn't have to match your competition. It needs to work for you and your organization, but make sure your pricing is in line where it needs to be. Number 8, you want to stay authentic. For example, if you are a Mary Kay person and you believe in cruelty-free products, then you don't want to support an organization that tests on animals. And that's just a random example that I'm throwing out there. You have to stay true to your brand. If it's Pride Month, so you are seeing companies that have Pride merchandise. If that's not something they promote all year long, it can be problematic for their brand if they're trying to do it to leverage sales in June. I wouldn't recommend that. Be who you are all the time. If you're proud, be proud all the time, but stand out in your own authentic way. Number 9, you want to be consistent in your branding. I must have enjoyed that so much that I did it twice because that's also number 1. So we're going to strike that. Number 10, provide great customer service. Over deliver. That makes me crazy when somebody says they're going to do something and they don't do it. Crazy. So if you say you're going to do it, do it. I would much rather have you under promise and over deliver than over promise and under deliver. Customer service really, really matters. Let's see, where are we? 11. Share your values in community service. Let's go back to being authentic. If you are a big believer in animal rights and non-animal cruelty, then having your team volunteer at the Humane Society is a great idea. If you support Safe House of Shelby County that helps people who've been victims of domestic abuse, then you can't support a political campaign where the person who's running has been arrested for spousal abuse. It has to be consistent. And that's where you share your values with your community. I If we believe it, we're going to share it. We are a big supporter of Safe House. You're going to see that information come across our pages, our platforms, because we support that organization. That's important to me. So we want to be as transparent about that as possible, which leads me into number 12, transparency. Tell your story. Tell people how you got to where you are. And try to remember, out of all the things that make you stand out, you really are the secret sauce. There's a ton of social media managers. Would be crazy to think that we are the only fish in the pond, but what makes us different is us. This team is amazing. We have great customer service and we're good at what we do. Now, are there other people who are also great at what we do? Of course there are, but the personalities have to line up. It really needs to be complementary with the customer and the person that's providing the service. So just be you, be your own transparent self, tell your story. I forget sometimes that there's power in the story. I totally forget it. I don't tell my own story enough. This is our 15th year in business. And when I started doing this in this industry, people had no idea what it was. I got the head tilt when people say what you do and you say, oh, I'm a social media manager. Really? Yeah, I play on Facebook all day. Oh, okay. They had no idea for the first few years, just truly no clue. And now, even still, I don't think there's a deep appreciation for what social media managers really do. And if you want to dig a little deeper in that, check out the Instagram account, Sippin' Social Tea, and you will get a much better appreciation for what we do. But just be you, be your authentic and true self. Because really and truly, when you are who you are supposed to be, your business will thrive. It's very difficult to succeed when you're trying to jam that square peg in the round hole. So that's it for me today. Next week, we are going to be talking about where to find content when your creative juice is all dried up. Where do you go for inspiration? How do you find new information? Thank you guys for joining me this week. If you have questions, you can leave a comment. I'll put this website back up here so you can see it. Again, WP Site Mason, excellent company. Until next week, I'm Karen Taradas with Social U, and I'm here to help. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for the Social University podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media at Stay Social U. That's the letter U. And we will talk to you next week. Remember, you've got this.